A lot of you are wondering about the gameplay of Sigma, and it's probably the thing that I am the most excited about. First off, he's a tank, and we really need another tank character in Overwatch. Not only is he a tank, but he's what we call a barrier tank. So,
Hey, what's up, guys? It's WolfIndex, and I'm sorry, Jeff. You win. This is not an off tank. Sigma, or real name Sebrin de Cooper. I hope I went ahead and got that right. I'm sorry if I butchered it, but he is from the Netherlands, and he is confirmed to be a barrier tank. Not only that, but he has 400 health in total, 300 being from regular health, and 100 being from shields, which isn't that bad. Also, let's go ahead and get into the hyperspears that we've seen in his origin story. So, according to Jeff, it's just two hyperspears that can go ahead and bounce off walls, so you can go ahead and get trick shots. And they also can do a little bit of splash damage. Now, this works out well when we have enemies that are trying to retreat and they're close to death and they end up turning around a corner. It's possible with Sigma's hyperspears that you can still finish the job. And maybe since they do have splash damage, probably similar to a grenade launched from Junkrat, since now it's at a one bounce and then it blows up on impact. It might be something like that where you can finish the job and possibly kill another teammate on the enemy team. I doubt it would be strong enough to go ahead and do enough damage to kill a third person, because at that point he'd be more towards the DPS side. But the more important thing that we need to go ahead and talk about is his experimental barrier, which is at 1500 health, and the max range is limitless. From what Jeff went ahead and described in the video, he can put his shield wherever he wants. And to go ahead and give us a description or an idea of what he can go ahead and do, he talks about an ulting Pharah in the sky and how Sigma's shield can kill said Pharah just by putting the shield up in front of the Pharah, which gives me more ideas where this can also prevent Torb from having a successful Molten Core, McCree having a good Deadeye. There's Graviton Surge prevention, where he can go ahead and possibly stop Zarya from getting that Graviton unless she literally walks through the shield and ends up popping off, but by that time she might get shredded. So, who knows? There's also the fact that in situations where you have a Lucio trying to go ahead and drop the beat, since now you can go ahead and prevent the beat drop if you put a shield in front of it, like when they went ahead and showed a description for Winston doing that. Maybe you can also go ahead and do this for this experimental barrier. Also, you can put this shield in front of an Ana if she's trying to go ahead and use her ult on a Reinhardt trying to survive, as well as anybody else. And at that point, since he's just hitting a shield, nothing's going to go ahead and happen. And we'll probably see people attempting to do stuff like this in PTR, and I'm all for it. Now, another thing that I'm really interested in, this is something that leans towards the aggressive tank that I was talking about in my other video that you should definitely go ahead and check out. It kind of makes me miss Maga, and I will go ahead and talk about it, where the ability is called Kinetic Grass. Now, Sigma can freeze incoming projectiles in midair and convert them into shields. Now, from what Jeff went ahead and said, the max for that shield would be 400 from the damage. So at that point, it's going to be similar to Wrecking Ball, where you have him at 800 health. Now, I don't know what's the cooldown for that, but if you end up having a situation where both you, Reinhardt, or like you, Orisa, or you, Winston, are pushing up, or like even some of the off tanks, and they're in need of help, you can go ahead and provide some type of leeway by making sure to go ahead and take in all that damage, like your Bishop from X-Men with kinetic energy. But I'm nerding out right now, but the point is, by doing that, you can also save your tanks or your supports, maybe even your DPS by doing that. And it's beneficial because you're getting shield from them doing damage. So I don't know how much time you have with said shields, or if it's just one of those things where it's there until they go ahead and destroy it, which I doubt, because at that point Sigma is going to be OP. And then he ends up having something called Assertion, where Sigma can go ahead and grab debris. This is similar to Doomfist with one of his emotes where he just grabs a big rock and he can knock enemies down with them. This is pretty brutal. It should have been done before with other characters, especially someone like Doomfist. He probably should have had an ability like this. Or even Winston when he's an ult. But apparently you can go ahead and dodge something like this, but I'm thinking if you have a Zarya or somebody else there, or like Ryan, who ends up having Hammer Down, or Zarya using her Graviton Surge, and you just launch that rock at that, I wonder if it'll go ahead and stun them, because I feel like it should be a stun since you're literally getting hit by a rock. But people are already complaining about CC abilities. And finally, we're going to go ahead and talk about his ultimate ability, which is similar to what I was going on about in my other video, where you can go ahead and raise or drop the people with Sigma's abilities, because he's all about gravity. So with him unleashing his power, it ends up having Sigma lift enemies up into a target area and then launching them back down to the ground. And from what Jeff went ahead and said, it does 50% of your maximum HP. And with something like that, imagine you doing that, then using Diva Bomb or using Graviton Surge. And it is something where, like, he does compare it to Doomfist ult, where you can get out of the area, but being in that area, it ends up being something where, one, as soon as you end up taking that damage, everybody else, and DPS as well as your other tank, can do cleanup. This is honestly pretty great. Like, I appreciate them doing this, because it's one of those things where I was worried about how he was gonna work with Graviton Surge, because he's in fact the gravity character. But I like him. I kind of hated Wrecking Ball, but I appreciate them having an actual tank that can, prevent a lot more stuff with his shield. So him working with Orisa on defense, or him working with a charging Reinhardt, like, in my mind, you could have a Lucio, Reinhardt, and Sigma. And your other healer can go ahead and be a Moira, maybe an Anna. I would definitely go ahead and appreciate a Baptiste in this situation because of his immortality shield and his distant heals from high ground and stuff like that, where you have the Reinhardt charged in, and then with Lucio having speed boost next to Sigma, he can go ahead and use his abilities right there next to Reinhardt after the charge when they're focusing on the Reinhardt, and the enemy team tries to go ahead and destroy, end him. Sigma comes in, ends up using his absorbing ability for the Kinetic Grass, and ends up using all of that projectile stuff incoming for 800 sealed. So now that you have Lucio and Reinhardt there, and Sigma with 800 health, you can start making moves. Because at that point, the enemy is going to have to focus on the fact that they have an 800 health tank damage dealer in there, as well as Reinhardt. So I'm really ecstatic to go ahead and see actual gameplay for this. But so far, Jeff has brought something that we need, and I want to go ahead and see more tanks because it's necessary. We have to have more tanks than DPS. Everybody wants to go ahead and play DPS, and it sucks because that means that more people aren't leaning towards trying to learn how to play tank. There's been too many situations where when a DPS character comes out, everybody wants to play them, but they don't want to actually learn them, and that ruins the comp. So with more tanks coming in, that means more possibilities of people trying to go ahead and learn how to maneuver properly with tanks. But with that being said, that's the end of this video. Leave your comments down below, leave a like, subscribe if you like what I'm ranting about, and until the next video, thanks for watching.